Welcome back to Fantastic Verses and Where to Find Them. Today, I have an activity for you to do with me. It's easy. I need everyone to take a deep breath. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in again and breathe out. What are we breathing in when we take that deep breath? Science tells us that we are breathing oxygen. But how do we actually know it's oxygen? How can we know we're not breathing something other than oxygen? Well, let's hold that thought for a moment. Science tells us that we aren't the only ones that live on oxygen. Fire needs oxygen. And if a flame like this is burning in a room, you know there's oxygen. We can't see it, but we can see its effects. If you take away the oxygen, the fire dies. Faith is believing in what we can't see. We can't see God, but we have the testimony of people who followed God to tell us He is real. And the longer we walk in faith, believing in God for ourselves, well, the more we see the effect of God working in our lives. We can't see God. We can't touch Him. We can't hear Him audibly. But if we have faith, we will see Him at work in our lives. We will be able to do amazing things because of our faith. Today, our memory verse is all about faith, and it comes from the book of Hebrews, and it goes like this. Faith is being sure of what we hope for. It is being certain of what we do not see. And that comes from Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. Let's say that verse again. Faith is being sure of what we hope for. It is being certain of what we do not see. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. Did you know the disciples and Jesus had conversations about faith? Well, today's Bible story is all about faith, and it can be found in Matthew chapter 17, reading verses 14 to 21. Jesus and the disciples returned to the crowd. A man knelt in front of him and said, "Lord, have pity on my son. He has a bad case of epilepsy and often falls into a fire or into water. I brought him to your disciples, but none of them could heal him." Jesus said, "You people are too stubborn to have any faith. How much longer must I be with you? Why do I have to put up with you? Bring the boy here." Then Jesus spoke sternly to the demon. It went out of the boy, and right then he was healed. Later, the disciples went to Jesus in private and asked him, "Why couldn't we force out the demon?" Jesus replied, "It is because you don't have enough faith. But I can promise you this. If you had faith no larger than a mustard seed, you could tell this mountain to move from here to there, and it would. Everything would be possible for you." The disciples were still learning who Jesus was. They still thought of him as just an ordinary man and not as the Messiah. If you read the book of Acts, you'll discover that they weren't always men of little faith. They were able to help people and heal the sick because God gave them that power. Faith enabled them to do amazing things, and God is still doing amazing things through His people. If we even have a tiny little bit of faith, we can still move mountains. And the more we see God work in our lives, the more our tiny little bit of faith will grow. Now, let's see how much you remember. Welcome to Lesson Trivia. Why did the man bring his son to Jesus? Because the son had epilepsy and often falls into a fire or water. Why couldn't the disciples heal the boy? They needed more faith. What is faith? Faith is believing what we do not see. Great work! I hope you will join me next week as we continue to explore the fantastic verses and where to find them.